Good morning, fathers of daughters. This is Ephraim B. Martin, and welcome to Grow Dad YouTube channel. All fathers are welcome, regardless of your ethnic group, background, and or culture. Mi amigos, ¿cómo te sientes? Bienvenidos aquí hoy. Gracias. Yes, sir, we are here for another live stream, fathers of daughters. Another good one, fathers. Today's live stream, what we're going to be discussing is the fatherless epidemic in the United States of America. Let me repeat that. We will be discussing the fatherless epidemic in the United States of America. You know, fathers of daughters, I am a father of 4 adult daughters, 36, 30, 26, and 24. Raised my baby girls, birth to 18 years of age. They're amazing women. They're awesome women, and I appreciate them dearly. We do have a fatherless epidemic in the United States of America, fathers. And I'm going to provide you with about 5 videos today, and we're going to take a look at exactly why we have an epidemic in the United States of America. It's a problem, fathers. When our baby girls are raised without their fathers in their lives, birth to 18 years of age, they can have a lot of issues. They can have a lot of problems. Our daughters can end up in the criminal justice system. They can end up dropping out of school. They can end up gravitating and ending up on the pole. They can end up being sex trafficked. There's a lot of things, fathers of daughters, that can happen to our baby girls if we're not a part of their rearing, their upbringing, birth to 18 years of age. So what we do here at Grow Dad YouTube channel is we provide fathers education, information through instruction. Okay? This is my way of giving back to fathers. My book, Daddy's Girls, it's available on Amazon.com. If you're interested, go check me out. Go check it out. If you want to support me, purchase my book, because my book, along with my live streams and my videos, are complementary of each other and they go hand in hand. My book will make a lot more sense because it's complementary to my live streams and my videos. So fathers, when we were talking about the fatherless epidemic in the United States of America, what exactly am I talking about? Exactly that. It's an epidemic, fathers. We have a lot of fathers that are not a part of their children's lives. Some by choice, some not by choice. But we have a fatherless epidemic, okay? The videos that I'm going to be sharing with you, they'll talk about some of the statistics and data that support and recognize the fatherless epidemic that we're dealing with here in the United States. The United States has a high number of single-parent homes, single-mother homes. And one of the things, fathers, I spent 30 years working with children from all socioeconomic backgrounds and their parents, from all socioeconomic classes. I worked in the criminal justice system for 20 years. I am a former state of Colorado juvenile probation officer. And I also worked in K-12 education for 10 years. I was a teacher, restorative justice coordinator, and dean of students. So I'm very, very familiar with what can happen to our baby girls when their fathers are not a part of their lives and upbringing. When I was a probation officer, I saw a lot of bad things happen to kids, particularly little girls. I saw a lot of girls get screwed over. I saw a lot of girls get hurt. I saw a lot of girls get messed over. I saw a lot of girls that ended up in foster care. They were raped. They were taken advantage of because so many adults have failed them. So fathers, I extend my hand to you and I'm reaching out to you, because when our baby girls do not have their fathers in their lives, whether we are married to their mothers or divorced, or if we're single fathers, problems will happen. Problems will come into their lives. It will rock them. It will shake them. It will turn their worlds upside down without the guidance and the protection and safety of their fathers. So I know when I think about my own baby girls, I had to look through a totally different lens working in the criminal justice system in K-12 education. My lens, when I worked in the criminal justice system, there was absolutely no damn way my daughters were ever going to be victimized or become a victim of the criminal justice system. The criminal justice system can do nothing for our children but make them worse fathers or daughters. We do not want to test that theory. We do not want our baby girls or our children to ever end up in the criminal justice system, because this is what happens when the criminal justice system comes into your life. Parents, they take control. They make decisions that are not in your best interest, but in the best interest of the courts and what they see fit and what they deem fit. I've got a problem with that because no one knows their children better than the parents. So what we don't want to do, fathers and daughters, is we don't want to ever have our children end up in the criminal justice system, the juvenile justice system. It will not turn out good. It will never end good, fathers. Trust me. That is not something you want to toy with. That is not something you want to play with, because the criminal justice system makes kids worse. Doesn't make them better. It makes them worse. So fathers, the videos I'm about to share with you, what I would like for you to do is I want you to have an open mind. I want you to have an open heart. I want you to process these videos. And if you know someone that's in need, as a resource, share my videos, share my live streams. Okay? I'm a viable resource on YouTube and rumble.com. When I live stream directly to YouTube, and I also directly live stream to rumble.com. Two amazing platforms. Okay? So fathers, I need your minds to be open. I need you to process. I need you to see exactly what I am presenting, because what Grow That YouTube channel does is we deal with the real. We deal with the real. All videos that I use in my live streams, they're fair use videos. Okay, they're loaded up to YouTube. They're available. They're all in the description. So every time I live stream, all my videos that I use, fathers and daughters, they're in the description. Okay. All right, fathers. So let's get started with these first videos. I'm going to show them back to back to back to back before I come back and give my commentary. Okay. I'm probably going to show the first 3 or 4 back to back, and then I'll show the last one by itself back to back. All right. So fathers, I need your attention. And these videos are going to be very, very eye-opening for you. And like I said, if you see a father that may be struggling, that may need help, turn them on to me as a resource. Okay. I appreciate all fathers. Thank you for being present. All right. So let's check these videos out, fathers. This is video number 1, fathers of daughters.
Fatherless homes have a profound impact on children's upbringing and development. The statistics are clear. Children from single-parent households, particularly those headed by single mothers, are at a disadvantage when it comes to their physical, emotional, and psychological well-being. According to statistics from 2021, the United States has the highest rate of children living in single-parent households in the world, with 80% of single-parent homes led by single mothers. This is over 3 times the world average of 7%. Even for children with a father present in the home, the average school-age boy only spends about 30 minutes per week with one-on-one conversations with his father. In comparison, the same boy on average will spend about 44 hours a week watching television, playing video games, and surfing the internet. The statistics also show that fatherlessness has a direct link to various negative outcomes. For example, 90% of all homeless and runaway children, 63% of teen suicides, and 85% of children and teens with behavior disorders come from fatherless homes. Additionally, roughly 70% of teenage pregnancies come from women raised in a fatherless home, and these same women have significantly higher abortion rates than women raised by both a father and a mother. Furthermore, fatherless kids are 20 times more likely to be incarcerating and 11 times more likely to exhibit violent behavior than children from 2-parent households. Even if a man and a wife raise a child, they are less likely to end up in jail, but they have the same chance as children raised by just their fathers. The problem is when a single mother raises a child without a father in the picture, as it can be difficult for them to provide discipline, hope, values, and principles. It is important to note that fatherlessness can have a wide range of negative effects on children, and it is not limited to the aforementioned statistics. Children from fatherless homes are more likely to have poor school performance, behavioral problems, and mental health issues. They may also have difficulty forming healthy relationships and may struggle with addiction and substance abuse. So, what can be done to mitigate the negative effects of fatherlessness on children? One solution is for society to prioritize and support father involvement in children's lives. This can be achieved through policies such as paid parental leave for fathers, flexible work arrangements for parents, and programs that provide education and support for fathers. Additionally, it is important for communities and organizations to provide support and resources for single mothers to help them provide for their children and create a stable home environment. Another solution is for fathers to take an active role in their children's lives, regardless of their relationship status with the mother. This can include regular visits, phone calls, and other forms of communication, as well as providing financial and emotional support. In conclusion, fatherlessness has a significant impact on children's upbringing and development. The statistics are clear and the effects are far-reaching. It is important for society as a whole to prioritize and support father involvement in children's lives and for fathers to take an active role in their children's lives. By doing so, we can mitigate the negative effects of fatherlessness and give children the best possible chance for a healthy and successful future.
All right. All right. Crime. And in this case, you're writing not only about African Americans, but about low-income people generally. In the United States, murder rates, rates of infection with venereal diseases, and rates of teenage pregnancies were among the social pathologies whose steep declines were suddenly reversed in the 1960s. Nowhere was rampant violence and other social pathology as common among low-income people in the first half of the 20th century, when they were more deprived, as in the second half, when the welfare state had made them better off in material terms, close quote. Again, it's not the intention of anybody enacting the welfare state to cause increases in violence, but it happened.
Yes.
What was the disconnect between intentions and what emerged?
Oh heavens! They misdiagnosed the causes of things, and therefore they misdiagnosed the effect to expect. For example, in the case of venereal diseases, sex education was introduced on a mass basis in the 1960s, and when the arguments for doing it were one, to reduce the level of venereal diseases and of teenage unwanted pregnancies, and both those things had been going down on their own. That is, and by 1960, the rate of infection for venereal diseases was something like half of what it was in 1950. And then they bring in the sex education, and it turns around and shoots up. Among blacks, the homicide rates among black males declined by 18% in the 1940s, by 22% in the 1950s, and then skyrocketed in the 1960s, wiping out all that progress. And they had a different view of the world, and their view just did not meet the test of time.
One more instance of this kind of retrogression, the family. Again, discrimination and disparities. As of 1960, I just find this one heartbreaking. As of 1960, 2/3 of all Black American children were living with both parents. That declined over the years until only 1/3 were living with both parents in 1995. Among Black families in poverty, 85% of the children had no father present, close quote. So it's not the legacy of slavery that destroys the African American family.
It's the legacy of the welfare state.
And by the way, we see illegitimacy rates rising among everybody.
Yeah, and in other countries.
And
you know, the very same thing in England.
And what's the mechanism? Why does the welfare state dissolve the family structure?
For one thing, it makes it unnecessary for fathers to support their offspring, and in fact, it makes it counterproductive in many cases. A very poor man who might be able to support his family realizes his family will be better off without him. But on the other hand, someone who's strictly irresponsible, either the man or the woman or both, now pays no price for being irresponsible. The taxpayers pay the price. And actually, the harm done to the taxpayers, which is serious, still is not comparable to the harm done to the families, especially the children.
To the kids.
Yeah. Moynihan was excoriated for pointing this out.
1965,
The
the Moynihan Report. That's right,
yes.
the Moynihan Report.
What is, so people that took this as a way of putting down blacks. What they don't understand was that one, Moynihan was a scholar who knew that his own group, the Irish Americans, had that very same problem at the beginning of the 20th century. And more importantly, Moynihan's own father deserted the family when he was 10 years old.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He and his brother were out shining shoes in Times Square and Central Park to try to bring in a few pennies to help keep the house going. And so where they'd been living in this wonderful suburban area, suddenly they were in a very rough neighborhood, and they were shining shoes in Times Square to try to make ends meet. And so he understood that this was one heck of a problem that people should be warned about, and he was simply excoriated.
Excuse me.
I have some disturbing stats I want to share with you about fatherless homes. And by the way, some of the stats, you know, I've seen this before. I'm going to tell you, when you read some of these stats, you're going to sit there and say, that is insane. By the way, these stats are from 2021 of the impact a father makes in a child upbringing, both a girl and a boy. Like I said, disturbing, but you will be shell-shocked with the stats. If you get value from the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let me get right into it. The U.S. has the highest rate of children living in a single-parent household of any nation in the world. About 80% of parent homes are led by single mothers, at a rate of 23% of children living with one parent and no other adult. The United States stands over 3 times the world average of 7% of children raised by one parent. For reference, the number stands at 3% in China, 4% in India. This is not an area we want to be competing with other that everybody wants to hide. And this is the stats where the side effects of this, we ain't going to see for 2 decades or 3 decades or longer. Takes a while to see the side effects. Let me continue. Even for children with a father present in the home, the average school-age boy only spends about 30 minutes per week with one-on-one conversations with his father. For comparison, the same boy, on average, will spend about 44 hours a week watching television, playing video games, and surfing the internet. In our house, there is no video games throughout the week. It's on the weekends. After you read 150 pages throughout the week, then you have the right to play video games for an hour or 2 on the weekend. And that's what you have to earn. You have to move your body. You have to exercise. There's certain things you need to do to get to that point. That's our household. But the stat tells you 44 hours a week of watching TV, playing video games, and surfing the internet. Let me continue. 90% of all homeless and runaway children, 63% of teen suicides, 85% of children and teens with behavior disorders come from fatherless homes. Let me read that stat to you one more time. 90% of all homeless and runaway children, 63% of all teen suicide, 85% of children and teens with behavioral disorder come from fatherless homes. That is a very, very big number. Next, fatherlessness likewise has a direct link to teen pregnancy and sexual activity. Roughly 70% of teenage pregnancies come from women raised in a fatherless home. 70% of teenage pregnancies comes from fatherless homes. 70%. That's a big number. And these same women have significantly higher abortion rates than women raised by both a father and a mother. On the whole, fatherless kids are 20 times more likely to be incarcerated and 11 times more likely to exhibit violent behavior than children from two-parent household. 20 times more, okay? 20 times more. If a man and a wife raise a child, they're less likely to end up in jail, but they have the same chances as children raised by just their father. You may already be blown away by the stats before, so maybe come back and let me read this to you and brace for impact if you missed it. Let me read it one more time. Listen. Just stay with me. Don't get distracted. Stay with me. Listen. If a man and a wife raise a child, they're less likely to end up in jail, but they have the same chance as children raised by just their fathers. The husband and wife raise their kid. The chance of this kid going to jail is the same as just the father raising his kids. The problem is the single mother without a father in the picture that can sit there and discipline the kids, give them hope, values, principles, all the other stuff. We play different roles. This is statistic. If somebody's watching this saying, oh my God, you're discounting women, you're discounting mothers, go get upset at the stats, not at me. This is stats. You can't get upset at 3 times 3 is 9. That's stats. I'm giving you stats that's being given to us by the government because they have access to these stats. This is disturbing. Let me continue. Girls with no fathers have lower self-esteem. We can lower crime, lower mental issues, help the economy, lower suicide rates, and decrease homelessness by bringing back the family nucleus. There are things that my wife can do as a mother that I can't do. There's things she can bring that I can't bring, but there are things I can do that she can't do. So now you may say, well, Pat, I agree. I do agree. We can lower this. But then how come it's not happening? And here's the other question. Who's to blame? Who do we blame with this? Now, you may be listening to this saying, well, it's got to be the husband and wife's fault. It's got to be the man and the woman's fault. Fine. How come it's not the same ratios around the world? Why is U.S. fatherlessness at 23%? Everywhere else is 7% average. So is it really the mom and dad? So how about the mom and dad in India? How about the mom and dad in China? How about the mom and dad in Germany? How about the mom and dad in Brazil? How about the mom and dad in other places? Why are we at 23%? How did this happen? Was it like this before? Is it an evolution? Is it mainstream media? Is it Hollywood? Is it the fact that parents are afraid of parenting because everybody is so much involved? You can't do that to your kid. You can't do this to your kid. You can't discipline your kid like that. Whose fault is it? It's someone's fault. Is it the fact that, hey, we can't really bring church and schools and pray and all this stuff? I don't know. Maybe that's not something you agree with. Maybe it is. Maybe we need those values and principles. But it's somebody's fault in America that this is happening. This is purely a systemic issue that we're having. This cannot be like no, it's really the community, it's the parents, it's the culture, it's all this other stuff. No, standards are standards. We're sitting there not educating. It's not a big deal. Go ahead and do that. It's not a big deal. Go ahead and do that. It's not a big deal. Go ahead and do that. No, standards have dropped and the numbers are showing. If we judged a country based on how many kids are being raised by fatherless homes that's producing crimes at the levels that we're getting, sex during teenage pregnancy, abortion, suicide, incarceration, maybe we ought to look at this. Maybe this is very important. Maybe our educational system sucks. Maybe. Kids spend more time around teachers than they do around their parents. Maybe. Who do we blame? The responsibility has to lie on the nation. Maybe we're either too much involved or we're not selling. Take your time to get married. Take your time before you have sex with someone. Take your time before you get pregnant. Take your time before you have a baby. Protect yourself, stay home. Do not just go out there and have unprotected sex. Maybe we're not talking about this kind of stuff. Maybe we are, maybe we're not. The stat says we're not selling it in the right way and we're paying a price for it. If you're in a community that crime is high, hello, you're feeling it. That's the stats. So the next time you see a father that takes their job as a father seriously, you can actually say, you know how we see somebody in military uniform? Guess what you say? Hey, thank you for your service. What do you mean? Hey, man, stats, 23% fatherlessness. And you're there with your kids. Thank you for your service. Being a father is tough. Good for you guys, husband and wife, trying to make this work. Marriage is tough. Salute. You make my life better and safer by raising good kids. Salute to you. Maybe we ought to give those awards. Maybe we need to kind of recognize Father of the Year award, a bigger deal. Man, if I ran a state or a country, we would be recognizing certain behavior and turning great fathers and mothers into heroes. Because God knows their job is hard, very hard. Not, making their job harder, not recognizing the guys that are doing a good job, just kind of winging it, which is the way we're doing it right now. Stats don't favor us. We got some work to do. This is an area, well, I will very comfortably say America's got a lot of work to do. We've stepped away from values and principles, and we're kind of winging it. Anyways, and no one masters parenting, and none of us know if we're going to be great parents or not for about 40 years until our kids are 40 years old. By the time you know you're a great parent, you're probably not alive because your grandkids will validate that you were a good parent. So you're never going to know whether you were a great parent or not. But I made a video from all the different things I've learned and what I apply in my life about parenting called How to Raise Successful Kids. If you've never seen it, click here to watch that video. Shout out to those of you guys that take your job as a father very seriously. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.
Fathers and mothers. At least in the beginning, you have to have both to create life, to create a child. But whether done over time or instantly after conception, fathers are disappearing from the picture altogether. In fact, according to the US Census conducted in 2022, in the US alone there are approximately 18.3 million children who live without a father in the home. That is over 1 in 4 children living without a father. But it doesn't stop there. Millions of children have fathers who are physically present but are not emotionally present. So why is this happening, and what effect is it having in our society? In this video, we're going to see how the fatherless wave is becoming an epidemic and how it's crippling our society one child at a time. Plus, stick around to the end as I have something for all those who are single parents yourself. Make sure to like and subscribe. It lets me know you enjoy the content I'm making for you and helps other people find this video easier. Way back in the good old days, a man got married to a woman and they stayed together until one of them died. Marriage was thought of as a very sacred union or even a contract between two people, and it took God himself to break it. This holy look on marriage lasted very strongly up until the mid-20th century, but in the 1960s something happened. The sexual revolution took the world by storm and shined a new light on what it was to be married, and even more so, presented us with the idea that the marriage contract could be easily broken, that marriage could even be a swinging door. Since then, the institution of marriage has quickly deteriorated. Not only do people enter and exit marriages like they do on a bus, but now people are avoiding marriages altogether. The modern family doesn't look like it used to. During that great awakening in the 60s, promiscuity was normalized. Females were okay entering into low-commitment sexual relationships with men, and children were being born out of wedlock. Now, approximately 40% of children are born to unmarried mothers. While some see this period in time as just a blip in the history books or a time of freedom for women, the damage that has followed remains irreversible. This is because sex once focused on procreation and family. But sex now has become weaponized and used as recreation. While men and women are still getting married, marriage is happening less and less. And when people do get married, they're not lasting as long as they used to. Currently, the average length of most marriages is just 7 years. And yes, half of all marriages do end in divorce. Of course, there are those toxic relationships or even abusive relationships that both men and women should not remain in. You simply must leave the significant other if that's the case. But we as society are normalizing divorce now more than ever. Marriage is suffering from the effects of what I call Tindertification. You don't like them, just swipe and move on to the next one. But when divorce is chosen as the easy solution, the quality and even quantity of the time that children spend with their fathers declines rapidly. Frank Fusterberg and Andrew Cherlin, authors of The Divided Families, share that after just a few years after divorce, only 1 in 10 children actually still have weekly contact with their fathers. Even more shocking is that 2/3 of those children have no contact at all. Let's say even in the best case scenario, where divorced fathers maintain contact with their children, the time spent with them is superficial, short, and has little to no benefit for the child. What's interesting is that this dynamic after divorce happens because women and men think very differently from one another. Women view marriage as 2 relationships, one with their husband and one with their children. But men, on the other hand, tend to view marriage and parenting as one all-inclusive package. So in their mind, if the marriage deteriorates, then fathering deteriorates with it. I'm sure you've heard the term happy wife, happy life, which leads us to believe if the wife isn't happy, no one is happy. So divorce becomes a solution. But on the other end of that is the common saying, we stay together for the kids. And trust me, when my parents got divorced, I heard this phrase from both of them, and it was not the nicest thing to hear. So which road is better to go down? The one of happy individuals but children that suffer, or 2 unhappy individuals who stay together to create a better environment for their children? I believe the answer is case by case. But what I can tell you is that the damage that goes on when children don't have a present father is incredibly high. While some fathers are not present due to divorce, others are not present due to their own addictions to drugs, addictions to alcohol, or the main addiction in our society, an addiction to their smartphones. But there's another element keeping fathers away from their children: work. We're living in a time when the cost of living is ridiculously high, like out of control high. This problem is now forcing fathers to work more. Fathers are now having to work 10, 12 hours a day out of the house, away from the families, just to financially support the families. This financial crisis is now creating the modern dynamic where the wife is raising the children alone. Whether emotionally or physically absent, the issue of absent fathers has reached just a high level that if being fatherless was a disease, it would be an epidemic. So whether by choice, bad luck, or forced to, what damage does a fatherless child experience? And let's talk some basics here. Men and women are different. They just are. Each possesses innate biological differences, which translates into different yet parenting styles. When looking at the woman, she's more compassionate and relationship-oriented. Men, on the other hand, are more competitive, confident, and drawn toward risk-taking. These polar opposite attributes complement each other in ways that a single parent cannot possibly manage. It is beyond difficult for a person to be everything to everyone all at once. Mothers provide children with a safe, nurturing, and emotionally secure environment, something we as humans need. Fathers, however, challenge their children. They push their boundaries and help them cultivate autonomy. Again, we as humans need this too. And just to bust a myth here, the myth of the independent woman who can achieve it all, a great career and being single mother all at the same time. That just isn't true. And it's a myth many young women believe. And here's why. As we said, women provide a safe, nurturing, and emotionally secure environment for the kids, but they simply cannot do that if they themselves do not feel safe, nurtured, and emotionally secured by their man. These are basic human emotions that, if not met, then the woman crumbles, and the kids feel that. There's no such thing as an independent woman or an independent man. We are all interdependent. We need both. We crave each element of that male-female dynamic, whether we know it or not. As a child develops, he or she needs the varying environments to grow and flourish. Our psychological health is contingent on meeting the need for independence while also knowing we are safe. As we grow up, we need to be both challenged emotionally and physically while also having a safety net that the mother offers. The two very different genders when it comes to parenting are related to something fundamental in the human condition. Males and females each bring different qualities to children. In his book, Families Without Fathers, David Popenoe explains, the burden of social science evidence supports the idea that gender-differentiated parenting is important for human development, and that the contribution of fathers to child rearing is unique and irreplaceable. This one word, irreplaceable, hits our society really hard because we think if a father is absent, can't he be replaced? Yes, a father figure is great to have, but he cannot replace a biological father. Stepfathers who are praised and thought to be just as good are actually not a reliable solution to the problem of fatherless children. In fact, stepchildren are often worse off than children of single mothers. This is because the lack of genetic ties can cause a stepfather to be reluctant to invest time and energy into the child's development. They come in as more of an older brother or as a fun uncle figure than an actual father figure. It is even thought that some stepfathers are prone to see their stepchildren as competition for their mother's attention. When children find themselves without a father, it can cause trauma and issues that affect the entire childhood and even adulthood. Fatherlessness could cause an abundance of issues. It could cause children not to take risks or even have low self-confidence, not to know how to deal with challenging situations, or even not to know how to express and develop their manhood in a healthy way if they're boys. The list goes on and on when it comes to the damage it causes. The strongest predictor of whether a person will end up in prison is that they were raised by a single parent. Many fatherless children likely end up in poverty, drop out of school, become addicts, and even end up in prison for various crimes. Here are some crazy and very scary numbers for you to think about. 60% of rapists, 63% of all youth suicides, 70% of all teen pregnancies, 71% of all adolescent chemical or substance abusers, 72% of juvenile murderers, 80% of all prison inmates, and 90% of all homeless and runaway children came from single mother homes. That's what fatherlessness does to our society. I'll put the links to all the research in the comments below for those of you who want to dig deeper. As Dr. Gabriela Gobi said, growing up without a father could permanently alter the structure of the brain and produce more children who are more aggressive and angry. The damage that the fatherless epidemic is having on children is alarming, but the ripple effect it is having on our society is becoming irreversible. Families are the pillars of our society. Strong and stable families contribute to the community, the environment, and the world. What society does to its children, so will its children do to society. The modern families we are creating, where fathers are stepping out of the picture, is going to reflect in the society we're creating. Okay, real quick. If you're watching this video, then you're probably someone like me who really values relationships. Maybe you're someone who struggles with the relationship or who just want to make the relationship even better. For me, there was no other way to start this journey other than going back to my childhood memories and how my early experiences shaped my perception about how to relate to others and how to interpret how others relate to me. One of the recent revolutions in childhood psychology is the understanding of how children relate to their parents and how this relationship shapes the kids' perception about relationships, and then it carries out throughout life and throughout all of their relationships. So how we attach to our parents, basically, and how our parents interact with us, we develop the so-called attachment styles. Your style might be secure, avoidant, dismissive, or fearful. And the majority of us pass on all the issues that our parents passed on to us to our kids. So if you want to learn how to understand childhood psychology and raise children who attach to others in a healthy way, or if you're someone who wants to understand more about your own childhood and how the consequences of your parents' parenting styles are affecting your relationships now, I created this online program on childhood psychology. In the 12 lessons of this course, we explain how children attach to their parents and how these attachment styles define all the relationships throughout life. We deep dive into how children develop their sense of self and identity and how their mind works, from stimulus to perception, all the way up to forming what we call mental representations. And then how these representations manifest into actual behavior. Okay, I'm not going to go into more details because I want to get back to the video, but if you feel like you want to understand more about childhood psychology, I'll leave a link in the description below. Back to the video. I'll leave you with this quote from David Popenoe's book. Indeed, almost anything bad that can happen to a child occurs with much greater frequency to the children of divorce and those who live in single-parent families. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm Dimitris, and I share tools and insights on how to design a well-lived life.
Okay, fathers, 4 excellent videos, statistics, data that explain the fatherless epidemic in the United States of America. So it's a lot of information, fathers. And like I said, all videos are in the description. The links are there. They're highlighted. So feel free to always do your own research, fathers. I encourage all fathers to always do their own research. But with the resources that Grow That YouTube channel provides, I make it very, very easy for you. Okay? Like I said, this is my way of giving back to fathers. I'm at a totally different transition in my life. All of my daughters are adult women in their careers, living their best lives. I am proud of each and every one of them. They're awesome women. I did an amazing job. I didn't get lucky 4 times. I had to put in a lot of work, fathers, birth to 18 years of age. A lot of work, fathers. So I encourage fathers all the time. I participate in a lot of men's groups. There's a lot of men that don't want to take care of their kids. There's a lot of men that have checked out. And then they want to blame the mothers. The one thing we're not going to do is we're not going to blame the mothers of our children for our kids ending up in a crisis situation. If our kids end up in a crisis situation, fathers of daughters, if our children end up in a crisis situation and we are not a part of their lives, birth to 18, that's 100% on the fathers, not the mothers. I'm not going to allow you to beat up on the mothers. I'm not going to allow you to bash the mothers. Because as a professional working in the criminal justice system, on one hand, I can count how many fathers I met when their baby girls were on probation. One hand, in almost 10 years, how many fathers I met in court, outside of court. I spent years in family court. I spent years in juvenile court. So I know exactly what I'm talking about here, fathers. All right? Okay, fathers, we have one more video It's about 30 minutes long. And then we're going to end this live stream. I appreciate you for participating and being part of this live stream today, fathers. Okay, let me get this last video set up and then we will end this live stream, fathers. Okay, fathers, this is the very last video, and then we will end this live stream, okay? Appreciate your time, fathers, this morning. Grow That YouTube channel welcomes all fathers, regardless of your ethnic group, background, and or culture. You're always welcome here.
Welcome to Nonprofit Stories, inspiring tales from Silicon Valley. We will explore the transformative work of nonprofit organizations and leaders who are changing our community by tackling some of the most pressing issues facing Silicon Valley. So without further ado, let's dive into this exciting conversation.
Today, we welcome Terrence Hunter, the president, director, and founder of Empowering the Fatherless of Silicon Valley. Their mission is to empower the fatherless and at-risk youth by equipping them with life and living skills so they may reap the benefits of living well-rounded and fulfilling lives. U.S. has the world's highest rate, 25%, of children living in single-parent households. The poverty rate for female-headed households with no spouse present is 24.7%, compared to 6.8% for married couple households. The cost of fatherlessness to society is estimated to be $112 billion per year. Before we dive into the conversation, let's learn a little about the organization's great work so far.
My name is Terrence Hunter, and I'm the president and founder of Empowering the Fatherless, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. I established Empowering the Fatherless for many reasons. First, we want to shut down the school-to-prison pipeline. We are providing youth with tools and skills that enable them to make better choices, which improves the quality of their lives. We also are combating the current crisis in America, in which more than 25 million kids are residing in father-absent homes or homes in which the father is not proactively involved in their lives. Through our efforts, we are challenging men to be more involved, responsible, and committed fathers. Thank you.
Thank you, Terrence, for joining us today.
And thank you for inviting me.
Please tell us about the history of your organization and how did it all begin?
Sure. Sherrod, during my 30-year period of confinement, at a certain point, I decided to embark upon a journey of self-improvement by completing certain self-help programs. These programs addressed the underlying causes that led to my incarceration. After I completed these programs, I decided to become a facilitator and facilitate the programs that I completed. I became a facilitator because I wanted to help my fellow prisoners address and overcome the causes of their dysfunctional behavior.
Right.
So in 2019, 5 years after my release from prison, I established Empowering the Fatherless, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. This organization affords me the opportunity to use my facilitation skills to help at-risk youth and men in need of fatherhood skills. My intent is to equip men with fatherhood and relationship skills and shut down Santa Clara County's school-to-prison pipeline by equipping youth with valuable and empowering life skills.
That's very interesting. And what is your personal passion behind serving this organization?
Well, Sherrod, I'm the product of a father-absent home. To this day, I still do not know the identity of my biological father. When I was a young boy, I was very sad and disappointed that I was a fatherless child. However, as I observed the relationships my childhood friends shared with their fathers, I became angry, bitter, and very resentful. I could not understand why I didn't have a involved, committed, and responsible father in my life. You have no idea how gratifying it is for me today to be able to have every day an opportunity to let young people know how valuable they are in spite of an absent and uninvolved father. So my passion comes from my desire to help kids that may be going through the same thing I was going through when I was young by my father's absence.
That's interesting. And how many kids do you have, Terrence?
Well, it's counting. So probably right now, I'm probably have contact with maybe a total of about 100 kids on a regular basis.
Wow, okay.
And so, you know, unfortunately, I never had kids of my own. And my wife tells me all the time, you have lots of kids. And that's the way I feel. I feel the kids that go through my programs, they truly are my kids.
Absolutely. And can you share a transformational experience you have had which involved your organization?
Well, there are many.
Share many.
But I think one that really sticks out is I was teaching a group of kids my self-esteem and self-compassion class. And after I'd finished teaching these 15-year-olds my class, one kid came up to me, a young lady, and I think she was 15 years old, and she showed me her phone, and she showed me the picture of a young boy. And he was in a baseball uniform, and she knew that I played baseball when I was a kid because I showed her photos. And I asked her, was that a current photo of her brother in this baseball uniform, or is this a picture of him when he was younger? She said, yeah, that's him when he was younger. And then she flipped her phone and showed me her brother at the age of 18. And she said, do you know where my brother is currently? And I said, no. She said, my brother's in the county jail facing murder charges.
Wow.
And then she flipped the phone once more and showed me a picture of her cousin. And she told me that her cousin is also in the county jail. The two of them were facing murder charges. And, you know, the look on the girl's face was disheartening, but it really made me feel good that she trusted me enough to tell me something that I'm sure she doesn't tell everybody.
Right.
And so that's what happens with me and these kids. We bond in a way that there's a sense of trust, and they quite often confide in me in personal matters. And it just gives me a really good feeling inside, because when I was a kid, I couldn't talk to anybody about the things that were taking place with me. Like, for example, I never told anyone how I felt about not having a dad. And so it's really a good thing to be able to take something that was a negative and turn it into a positive,
right,
to where I'm helping kids that otherwise may go down the same path that I went down.
That's so inspiring. Any other story you'd like to share?
In terms of transformation,
right?
Yes, I just recently attended a graduation ceremony that I was invited to because of my organization.
Sure.
And they were young men in Gilroy, California, who are engaging in gang activity.
Oh, okay.
And this organization called Carry the Vision had a summer program where they're teaching the kids business and life skills, and they invited me to be a part of it. And so yesterday I was able to attend the graduation ceremony and see the transformation in those boys in terms of how they came into the program and then how they exited the program. And you can see the changes that were made in their lives, because Carry the Vision and all of us who were involved made them feel loved and cared about, and just gave them a different viewpoint of themselves and the world in general. So every time I experience these type of things, it's just so rewarding, because, you know, my life has had a rocky past, and today I wake up every morning enthusiastic and eager about going out and trying to make a difference in my community. And something else that really made me feel good about where I'm at today, in October of last year, the Morgan Hill Community Foundation recognized me as a philanthropist and a volunteer that's making an impact in the community. So all of this has transformed me into the person I am today. And I would not give anything for the life I've had, in spite of how difficult it was at certain times, because I really like the person I am today. I can look in the mirror and actually say, I like that person that's looking back at me.
That's very inspiring, Terrence. And what are some difficulties your organization face, and how do you and your team overcome them?
One of the major difficulties we're facing, Sharad, is attracting and retaining quality volunteers and mentors. Quite often, people who become aware of what I'm doing and what Empowering the Fathers is doing, they commend us and they say they really appreciate and respect what we're doing. And they will often end the conversation with, I will help you in any way I can.
Right.
And you know, the thing about it, when you're employed or you're attending college or you have other commitments, there's very little time to offer your volunteer services. San Jose State University has deemed my organization as a learning site for their students.
Mm.
So students at San Jose State University who volunteer from organization, they actually receive college credits. I turn in timesheets. Unfortunately, I just lost two of my best volunteers because they're now working on their internships and they don't have the time to do the volunteer work. So one of the big challenges for us is finding people who have the time and also the passion to want to do what we're doing in terms of helping people. And from my own experience, what I'm learning is while a lot of people like the idea of volunteering and helping in the community and doing things for youth and incarcerated men who are in need of skills that will enable them to return to society, law-abiding citizens, while many people like the idea of doing that, I find that most people aren't willing to make the sacrifices that are involved, except those of us who really are committed to doing whatever we can to make a difference in the community. And so I'm hoping in the future, I will be able to compensate my volunteers to where they're not volunteers, but they're paid employees. And I think I will get a better committed core of people if it becomes a job more so than just volunteer work, because we all know that if someone's just simply volunteering and something comes up, it's easy to say, sorry, Terrence, I can't make it. I have a situation. But if you're paying, if you're compensating them, then that's a different story. One of the other difficulties we're experiencing right now, we have a desire to find a building that we can convert into an Empowering the Fatherless Youth Community and Learning Center.
I see.
You see, as it is right now, kids participating in my programs, they either have to be in the Silicon Valley Boys and Girls Club or a school that we're currently offering our services. The thing about schools, they do not like kids missing classes. So it's very difficult to bring your programs into the school, except in two schools in Morgan Hill where they have what they call a tutorial, which gives the student an option to go to study hall or come to my programs. So you don't get a consistent flow of students because sometimes the students go to study hall, sometimes they come to my class.
Right.
And so what we would like to do is establish an Empowering the Fatherless Youth Learning and Community Center where the kids could be involved in our after school programs. And hopefully we'll have vans where we could pick the kids up and then bring them to the center and then take them home afterwards. In our center, we would offer live living skills program classes and also use virtual technology to also educate the kids while we're there.
Right.
But instead of just making it a place where kids come to learn, we also want to be a happy place to come where they can shoot pool, play ping pong, you know, possibly have a basketball court there. So we have this vision of this club coming into existence, and not only just the one that we're trying to acquire, but eventually we want to have these centers located all over the place where kids everywhere can participate. So that's a difficulty right now that we're working on, but hopefully this is something we'll eventually figure out.
A typical problem homeowners have when wanting to buy a new home is whether to sell first or buy first. Either way is risky. When ready to look for a new home, TradeMyHome.com, powered by Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, offers an upfront guaranteed cash offer on your current home. Are you moving in the next 3 to 6 months? Text PAIR to 408-740-7400 for a free and no obligation professional equity appraisal report, exclusively for Nonprofit Stories podcast viewers. For more information, visit TradeMyHome.com or call 408-740-7400. Remember, at TradeMyHome.com, your home is sold guaranteed or we'll buy it.
And Can you share an example of a networking or collaboration which you guys do and that has helped your organization?
Oh, yes, I can definitely speak to that. Empowering the Fatherless is currently collaborating with the San Jose Youth Empowerment Alliance, and we're also collaborating with the South County Youth Task Force. And you have no idea how rewarding it is to be working with city and county officials and community and faith-based organizations who are genuinely concerned about the well-being of kids. In both the San Jose Youth Empowerment Alliance and the South County Youth Task Force, we all meet once a month, and this is a conglomerate of nonprofit organizations where we sit down and talk about what's going on in the community. We also have law enforcement people there who tell us about the crimes taking place in Santa Clara County so that we know the needs. We also have city officials who come there and make us aware of where they could use our services. In other words, they know the various services we offer, and they will come there and say, well, can some of you address this crisis we have going on in this community? Or can some of you take part in establishing certain things? Or during the summer, there was all sorts of summertime events for kids. And so at these meetings, they ask us to participate in these events. And so it's just a very rewarding thing to come together with like-minded people.
Right. That's very important.
Who are constantly making sacrifices and going above the call of duty to do what's necessary to make our communities a better place. And I think that's what it's all about. When you look at the behavior of a lot of the young people out there, it's because they don't have a sense of community. They don't have a sense of belonging. And so adults have difficulty understanding why these kids behave the way they do, but I don't, because I can clearly see why that's the case. In addition to us collaborating with these people, recently I started working with an organization called Carry the Vision that's based in Gilroy, California.
Okay.
Carry the Vision and Empowering the Fatherless, we share a passion for making a difference in the lives of youth. And I'm very convinced that working with this organization in the very near future will bear fruit that will demonstrate what happens when two organizations come together and use our various resources for a common goal.
That's very inspiring. And how do you envision the growth of your organization?
Well, right now we're very optimistic because I recently interviewed 4 individuals who have expressed their desire to want to be volunteers. Fortunately for us, all of these individuals actually have the time. And so I'm setting up a workshop where I'll be training them pretty soon. I have a Empowering the Fatherless Facilitator manual that everyone who comes in as a volunteer must go through so that they understand the standard we have set in terms of the people we bring into the organization. If we were just wanting to expand for the sake of expanding, we could have brought all sorts of volunteers into the organization by now, but we're very selective. We're very selective about the people that come in. All 4 of these individuals have already filled out a live scan application where their fingerprints will be taken and submitted to the Department of Justice. This is a requirement. And once I train these 4 individuals, they have already made a commitment to go into the jail where I go, to go into the reentry center in San Jose, and to go into the various schools and girls and boys clubs that we're currently providing services. So when these people come on board, it's definitely going to make it possible for us to expand our presence in the community and offer our services in a broader aspect. We're also optimistic right now because there's an aggressive procedure underway where there's some people trying to help us get the building that we need to expand, our Empowering the Fatherless base by creating a center. And these people are connected with the community. They know people in the real estate industry. And we came together the other day in a meeting, and they assured me they're going to do everything in their power to get us a building. Also spoke to the mayor of Morgan Hill, Mark Turner, recently, and City Councilman Tom Klein of Gilroy, and made them aware of my desire to get a building to establish a place where kids can come that is safe and allows them to engage in ETF's living skills programs.
Right.
So we're very optimistic about those things. And I'm also optimistic about my connection with Carry the Vision now. Like I said, we have common interests. I've met with them several times, and I've been involved in events that they're involved in currently. But I would also like to say, are you familiar with Father Boyle and his organization called Homeboy Industries?
Probably not yet.
It's in Los Angeles. And this is an organization that Father Boyle started in a community in Los Angeles 30 years ago called Homeboy Industries, with the intent of giving gang members valuable, working skills so they could gain employment. He does things like removes tattoos that they no longer want to have. Well, since establishing Homeboy Industries, Father Boyle has created what is now known as the Global Homeboy Network, in which he's partnering with 400 organizations worldwide. Well, this Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, he's hosting a Global Homeboy Network conference in Los Angeles. And Carry the Vision, the organization I just made you aware of, is paying for my airfare, my room, my food expenses, and my time to go to this event. Because at this event, they're going to have several workshops over that 3-day period that's going to give information on how he was able to build this global network. And I'm going to come back with this information and bring it to this organization. And we're going to see if we can establish the same type of services here in Northern California. So I'm very optimistic about the growth that's getting ready to take place, because there's all sorts of movement that's going to manifest in the very near future.
Right. And what key lessons and strategies have played a vital role in the success of your organization?
Sherrod, I think nonprofits should always remain focused on their mission. Quite often things may not develop as quickly as you like, or things go wrong. And at those times, it's very easy to lose track of what your original intention was. So I would tell all nonprofits, remain focused on your mission. Second, I would always tell them to never compromise their integrity. Along the way, you're going to have people that might want to donate money, might want to give you resources and other things that might seem attractive, but you have to make sure there's no strings attached to those type of contributions, because sometimes you have people that have ulterior motive where they want to do things for you and then later have a say in the direction your organization goes.
Right.
And so just be sure that you never compromise your integrity. Another thing I would say is to place value on long-term goals rather than short-sighted gains.
Sure.
In other words, if I have long-term goals that I'm trying to reach, it's not beneficial for me to engage in activities or do things that's going to short-stop me reaching those long-term goals.
Right.
So that's the advice I would give nonprofit organizations.
Worried about the dilemma of selling first or buying first? TradeMyHome.com, powered by Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, has the solution. With our guaranteed 24-hour cash offers, you won't risk owning 2 homes or being homeless. You can buy first and sell later. Are you upgrading or downgrading in the next 3 to 6 months? Text PAIR to 408-740-7400 for a free and no obligation professional equity appraisal report. Exclusively for Nonprofit Stories podcast viewers. For more information, visit TradeMyHome.com or call 408-740-7400. Remember, at TradeMyHome.com, your home is sold guaranteed or we'll buy it.
What advice will you give to the victims of fatherlessness?
Okay, well, here's the advice I would give to them. I made the major mistake of never talking about how I felt about not having a father. And therefore, I stuffed those emotions to where eventually those emotions went somewhere and caused me to take the life of a person because of all that internal anger. So when I talk to young people, what I try to tell them, especially in the schools and the boys club, they're surrounded by people who really care about them. And I advise them it would really be to their advantage to take advantage of these people who you trust and go to them and tell them whatever's bothering you, whether it's problems at home or whether it's just feeling, abandoned. Go and talk about these things, because if you don't talk about these things, then they're just going to ruin your life and distract you from being the person you're capable of being. So when I think about parents that might have kids that could benefit from living skill programs, I strongly encourage them to contact me or maybe some other local agency where those kids can acquire skills that will impact the rest of their lives. As far as men who lack fathering skills and desire to gain those sort of skills and skills that would enable them to have a better relationship with the mother of their children, because that's also important. You know, when you have kids where they know there's bad blood between their mother and father, that really doesn't serve a purpose, you know, to see them arguing and fighting.
And kids suffer in that.
Exactly. And so the men that are in need of fatherhood and relationship skills, the ones that are incarcerated, I would strongly suggest our Inside Out Dad program. And as far as men in the community who desire to become better dads and have a better understanding of what are healthy relationships as opposed to unhealthy relationships, I would recommend our 24/7 Dad program to them.
How does it work?
The 24/7 Dad program is a 14-week program.
Okay.
And the men engage in weekly 1-hour meetings. And this is a program where, first of all, we cover the basics. Like, for example, it's impossible for you to be a good father if not first you're a good man.
Sure.
You have to be a good man before you can be a father. A good father, you have to be a good man before you can be a good husband or partner to your woman. So we cover the basics in terms of things that most people who are incarcerated never even experience. See, when you look at most people that serve time, we have antisocial behavior. And if you didn't have antisocial behavior, you wouldn't be able to commit the crimes that you commit against people and in your community. So we have to first address that antisocial thinking and conduct and replace it with social skills. So quite often what we do is we take 12 men in the program, because we like to keep it at a certain number where each man will receive a certain amount of attention. And what you do is you get these 12 men to bond, and then they learn from each other. You know, it's interaction taking place in the classroom where it's just not me telling them, you know, my opinion or the opinion of the books. Because quite often what you have is men in there who are pretty good fathers, but could be better fathers.
Right.
And so there's all sorts of exercises that we do. There's all sorts of role playing that takes place in the room to where we're working on them in ways that they don't even understand.
Right.
It's subliminal.
Right.
But by the end of the 12-week, 14-week program, they have a better understanding of what it means to be a man, because that's where I went wrong in life. I left home at the age of 15, where I had a structured environment. My mother had my siblings and I going to church 2 to 3 times a week. I was a well-behaved kid. I had paper routes. I went to school. I did my homework. And then I left home out of anger at 15, stopped going to church, stopped reading the Bible, stopped being around my family. And I started hanging around older men who became my mentors. And they taught me what their idea of a man was, which was basically a man doesn't take crap off of anyone. And these were violent men.
Right.
So in my program, the 24/7 Dad program, we redefine what it means to be a man. A man is responsible. A man takes care of his family. A man is a pillar of his community. And so when we introduce these concepts to these men, they know that the behavior they've been exuding hasn't been working. What's going on in their life currently isn't working, or they wouldn't be confined. And then as far as men in the community, quite often they're getting arrested for domestic violence and all sorts of, you know, dysfunctional behavior. So men are open to this information. And I'm strongly convinced that when you look at people who behave badly, they behave badly because of the bad information they've received.
Right.
If you've replaced that bad information with good information, generally you will get different conduct. And so something I say to the men all the time is you really can't fault a person for behaving badly out of ignorance. But then once you acquire certain information, I think it's impossible for you to go back to the person you used to be. It's like myself, for example, all the self-help groups I've taken, all the information that I've acquired, there's no way that I could go back being that person I was in 1985 when I committed that horrible act. So I'm a strong person who believes in information and substituting bad information with good information, because as a IT specialist, you know that garbage in means
out.
garbage out.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, let's take, for example, our curriculum. It's a wide range of programs that we think will work on the person, not just in one area.
Mm-hmm.
For example, we have a values and responsibility course. We have a self-esteem and self-compassion course. We have a making decision class. We have a managing money class. We have a communication class. We have courses that are entitled What Teens Should Know About Nicotine and Vaping,
Mm-hmm.
What Teens Should Know About Opioids, What Teens Should Know About Marijuana, What Teens Should Know About Methamphetamines.
Right.
And so we just have a host of classes that really impact not only kids, but even adults in a major way. And you were talking about a transforming moment earlier, and something happened recently in my self-esteem class, and it was a high school student. And we were going over an exercise in which they were told to read certain statements and indicate whether or not that was taking place in their home. And this kid was this kid is 17-year-old. So the other kids was doing it silently, but this young man, he chose to do it audibly.
Okay.
So he would read the statement, I am important. No. My opinion matters. No. I can do anything. No. I am special. No. All the positive affirmations that were in that exercise, he says none of them were taking place in his home. And then he turned to me after he completed the exercise. He says, Mr. Hunter, I really wish I had this program years earlier.
Right.
And I said, you wish you had it years early because you would feel differently about yourself, right? He said, yes. I said, so you come to understand through this exercise that the reason you feel the way you do, as far as lacking confidence, not challenging yourself, and all the other things that are preventing you from living your life in a positive and effective way, you realize it's directly related to what was taking place in the home.
Right.
And so I said, what you don't understand is you don't have to feel bad that you didn't take this class earlier because you're only 17. I said, do you know there's adults in their 40s, 50s, 60s that are still walking around where they're allowing childhood trauma to influence their lives?
Right.
And so you're ahead of the curve. And that's what I told him. But you don't know what it meant to me, Sherrod, to hear him say, I wish I had taken this class earlier, because he realized the value of these classes we're offering him and how it's going to affect and influence how he views himself and how he views the world and how he lives his life. So that was a very transformed. My wife was there at the time, and we both just looked at each other, and without saying a word, we both felt the same thing. We really felt we were doing a good thing, and this boy valued it. And it's just like being in the jail where I work with the offenders who are serving time. You would be surprised at how they, at the end of every class, they come up to me and say, Terrence, we appreciate you. Terrence, God bless you. Terrence, we value you. And they mean it, because in most cases, these men for the first time are attending these type of enlightening classes.
Right. That's so inspiring. Thank you so much, Terrence, for talking to us today. And we wish you good luck in whatever you do. And let's stay in touch.
And thanks so much for having me. And I will keep in touch.
It's time for our trivia question to win prizes. This section is hosted by our AI.
Okay, fathers. That was an excellent video. It's at the end, so we didn't need to hear the rest of their promotion. That was an excellent video, and I just want to kind of add my own personal story. So I was a fatherless child by default because my father was murdered when I was 2.5 years old, almost 3. My father was 32 years of age when he got murdered. I was 2.5 years old, getting ready to turn 3. So by default, I was raised by a single mother. I'm the baby, the youngest of 5 siblings, and 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters. My mother was such an incredible woman. She was attentive. She was compassionate. She was empathetic. She was love. My mother was all love. So I don't have any childhood trauma that I could ever recognize other than not having my father in my life. But I was a athlete as a child, so I was busy. And I really didn't have time not to think about not having a father. But I do understand what it is to be fatherless. So I just wanted to add that because we all have our personal stories. And this is why I overcompensated for my daughters, because I didn't have my father. So I made sure that I was present, birthday 18, with my girls and doing the right things in their life, making sure that they were always protected and safe. Okay, fathers, that was an excellent video. Another live stream, Fathers of Daughters, another live stream. I appreciate you. And grow that YouTube channel. We live stream once a week, fathers. You're always welcome. And appreciate you, fathers. Kiss them babies, love them babies. Tell them babies you love them. Hug them. Show them you love them. Tell them you love them. Because protection and safety is what we bring, fathers of daughters. Okay. So we'll be doing another live streaming next week. And it was a good one, Father, so I appreciate you. Okay, mis amigos. Hasta la próxima semana. Past. All right, fathers, I'm out. Until next week, you know the routine. Peace.